Alright guys, Scrappy here, and I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, some major words exchanged on the main stage last night as Ghosty takes down OpTic and the Green Wall in a grueler 7-map series. Some major questions raised, especially in terms of what that Ghosty versus Dashy rivalry looks like going into the future. It's been brewing for some time, certainly after they played together, and there were some disagreements towards the end of that season. Now we start to get the first chapter of what the 2026 year looks like for these two players. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Lots to talk about to start off the video. Some thoughts on what the game might look like going forwards, because we've got a little bit of time now before the qualifiers get back underway, and there are plenty of qualifiers before the next major in Birmingham in the UK. Are we going to see changes to the map pool? Lots of the pros, they have some disagreements. Colossus Search, yes, it did produce that unbelievable Neptune moment, and it was actually played a lot. I think that's the concern, maybe not concern exactly, but for people that want Colossus Search gone, because some people aren't a big fan of it, it does get played like every series. So the teams may have their own opinion, but you can't let the teams necessarily call the shots because they will be very biased in terms of what they like. Lots of pros are not a big fan of Blackheart's hardpoint, they think it's too chaotic. So the question is, what is the league going to do about it? The players no longer call the shots unless the league have changed their mind, because last year the league just decided, okay, we are going to get rid of this map and put this map in. I imagine they will do that again this year, but of course they need to have some justification, right? So usually they say, well, this is, at least last year, this is the map that's picked the least, and therefore we're going to get rid of that and we're going to put in this other new map instead. Scar Search, Colossus Search, Blackheart's hardpoints, one of the overload maps, that's what Ghost I Hope is talking about. What are they actually going to do? What maps do they put in? Do they say Utopia? Run it? Do they say Fringe? Do they say Meltdown? Slums in the game in the next couple of days. So there's a couple of options out there. I think the league will probably do something to the map pool post Major 1. I think there's also some questions whether the pros will look to change up the meta, although I think that might well be pretty static unless there are severe changes to the game. But we understand that there have been. They've been playing on the old patch. The new patch, the weapons are a little bit different, but I don't maybe think that's enough to change the M15 Drazah. We shall see. These are the top players of the tournament by KD. Lunarz actually had a 1.3 overall, but of course got knocked out pretty early. Rancor also had a 1.3. He's still looking really good. Certainly on LAN, he had a good run with Miami. Yeah, I think Rancor, there was talk, of course, about him going to FaZe in the off-season and all that. That never happened, but yeah, the Rancor man might need a little bit of help from the rest of the Heretics boys for the rest of the season. JoeDeceives in third, Drazah in fourth, had a good bounce-back tournament, and then Shotzzy was fifth with overall KD. Of course, they made the finals. Maybe impressive isn't the right words because, of course, Gentlemates played a lot of COD, and some of which was against OpTic where they got 3-0'd. I mean, over the tournament, OpTic's map count against Gentlemates was 6-4, but of course, they lost the tournament in the fashion that we described yesterday. In terms of hardpoint KD, you do get a champion on here, of course, who won the event. Simp was third at a 1.19. HyDra, Lurqxx as well, who had a good tournament for the Ravens despite what we know their result eventually was. Search and destroy numbers, good for, well, a number of players. Obviously some very small sample sizes in here. Overload, that is less true, with some more kills and deaths on the map. Cammy was actually top in the numbers here. Pred, Shotzzy, Lunarz, Drazah. We did talk a little about this yesterday, so we'll just double down on it. Grand Finals, what is the optimal format? Is it fair that OpTic, as I say, they won more maps than Gentlemates did in those series that they played, but of course they walk away with second place and Gentlemates take the championship. I agree with Mack on this topic. If we are going to change the grand final format, which I think that, frankly, we should, the winners bracket team should have some sort of advantage. If anything, the team from losers, the only advantage I think the team from winners gets, really, I know that there's the vetoes, but in my opinion, the only advantage they really get is that the team from losers probably usually runs out of steam a bit towards the end of the series. But in a best of 7, that's not even that relevant. It's just, we have seen that in the past with teams, as the tournament goes on really down to the wire, the team from winners is a little bit maybe better rested because they've had to play less maps, but it's not really that relevant here in esports. And apart from that, if anything, the losers bracket team, I mean, they just 5-2 comeback FaZe. They were feeling good, and OpTic had just sat there and watched it for the last couple of hours. So, it shouldn't be a massive surprise that map 1 was Gentlemates' map to win. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win, obviously, but it's just, we could definitely have a better format than this. I agree with Mack that the solution, in my eyes, is to do what we did in the grand finals of the Modern Warfare 19 World Championship back in 2020, which was a best of 9 with a 1-0 advantage. It's nothing crazy. Mack also says that the single best of fives and, well, the double best of fives, but the intention that it could be a single, because we have seen before plenty of times when it was a double best of five, the team from winners would just 3-0 the team from losers and the tournament would be over. The final would last no time at all. And if it did reset, apparently the people realised that people just don't watch anymore. They were just like, oh, well, you know, whatever, I'll just come back another time. There's also the idea of like a continuation, which they used to do back in Black Ops 2. But I think the best of both worlds is something like Mack describes here. Also, the 8 maps means that if it is a best of 9, but you only play 8 because there's a 1-0 advantage, there's 3 hardpoints, 3 searches, 2 overloads, which to me is the right kind of balance of maps in a grand final, whereas if it's a typical best of 9, you'd have 4, as we see in champs, 4 search and destroys, which arguably is too much. Anyway, these are the overall standings. Gentlemates topping the lot at 150, OpTic, FaZe, G2, Thieves, Falcons, Heretics, and Ravens. Those are currently the 8 teams going to the World Championship, but everyone's at least got some points on the board, and yes, these up-and-coming qualifiers will be very important. Ravens, despite lots of promise, they end up in 8th place anyway, but as I say, they've got plenty of weeks of online qualifiers to potentially turn that around. But the big talking point, certainly at the end of the day, was the matchup itself, and also Dan Ghosty's role in the Gentlemates' arguably turnaround, or certainly where they have been this season so far, given his start to his career, right? Ghosty came into OpTic. We know that that team made a couple of finals. It was a good roster. They had some disagreements behind the scenes, and it doesn't appear that Ghosty and Dashy have necessarily been the best of friends over the last couple of years. Dashy does now hit 6 different COD titles with a grand finals appearance on OpTic, which is, well, only the same on that organisation as Scump, remarkably enough. They take home 90k, but not the result they wanted in the grand finals, especially because there were some rounds here that they will, I'm sure the VOD review will be pretty painful for. The Gentlemates get over the line, they win the final map 6-4, and, well, Neptune was the tournament MVP. But as you can see, a little bit of in this shot, but certainly more in these shots upcoming, it's Ghosty having a few words for Dashy on the other side of the stage. Now, this started a kind of a long time ago. And as I say, after the Modern Warfare 2 season when Ghosty was on the OpTic roster and they didn't have the best time towards the end of the year, they were pretty good, but, you know, Ghosty was very raw that season. Ghosty even said when I talked to him after he'd won the, you know, winners round 2, whatever, to get through to the winners final, and they were potentially going to play OpTic, he pretty much said, look, their practice does get pretty heated at times. It's not ideal, but not maybe ideal isn't the right word, even though he did say that as well. But Ghosty's a passionate player, for sure, and it's not always rubbed everyone, I think, the right way. Dashy, I think, one of those individuals, and, well, you see a little clip of it in this video. Of course, they put together this fantastic piece of content here, the Gentlemates guys, but this was that clip from the Kaysun LAN when Dashy said it's just Ghosty in finals, right? Now, we've seen other clips like this in the past. I wouldn't say there's, like, major beef between the pair of them, but as far as we understand, Dashy was not a massive fan of Ghosty's part of that OpTic team towards the end of Modern Warfare 2, and over the last couple of years, there's, you know, Dashy's often thrown a jab in there from time to time. This was another one. So that's what people were wondering. And I did see this quote even floating around before the grand final was yesterday. People were like, oh, OpTic versus Gentlemates, it's just Ghosty in finals and all this. Now, look, sure, did Ghosty have a pretty bad record in finals? Yeah, it's still not fantastic, of course. He started off his career losing with OpTic a couple of times in finals. Then he was on Thieves. They went to, you know, World Cup that year. They made the finals. They lost. Then, of course, last year was not ideal either. But last year he did get over the line, finally won a tournament with Thieves. But then, you know, towards the end of the season, things didn't go to plan. And, of course, he lost another couple of finals. Well, last season at the start of the year anyway. They lost Major 1 Madrid again. And Ghosty, still another victory that slipped through his fingers and all that. So, you know, the point was it's just Ghosty in finals. And therefore, yesterday, when it became a Ghosty versus Dashy 1 versus 1 for the championship, which, you know, you couldn't have written a much better script, to be honest. Now, it wasn't really Dashy's fault. I mean, it certainly wasn't Dashy's fault. He was put into a tricky spot. Could he have made a different play? Possibly. I think that Ghosty just played it pretty well, all things considered. But, you know, he says, look, Brandon, why are you getting nervous? What happened, right? Like, how come you lose that round as they get over the line? Again, did Dashy really make a mistake in that 1v1? Probably not really. Ghosty did check the bomb anyway, so it's like if Dashy went to plant, he probably gets red. It wasn't on Dashy, but Ghosty understandably took the opportunity here, having beaten Dashy in the finals, to get the word in against him, certainly after it was the 1v1 that actually got them over the line. So, couple of clips to share.
It's just Ghosty in finals! Oh my god!
Oh no, don't say that.
Kid's fucking awful!
Oh no,
Dog
but he was
shit
playing
fuck.
so... Oh, but he was...
Oh my god!
And Dashy, ever the consummate professional. He does...
He's nervous! What are you doing? You're so nervous! What happened, Brandon?
Today. Nah. Water ice. Tom is gone. I don't know where it's at. Merc's got it. I'll give it to Merc. He was fucking willing to,
when he clutched that shit.
I thought they were winning, bro. Liddy, remember I said it to Liddy. I was like, bro, OpTic's gonna give they're gonna get the 5-2 comeback like JoeDeceives did, and OpTic's gonna do it back to them.
Savior. That's the legacy savior, bro. I'm talking about the other guys on this OpTic team. Their ice just ain't there no more time. It's BO7 and it's gone. It's gone. But this was a great series. I'm glad it went down to the wire, went the distance. That's always better than a blowout in a final. But I mean, also, bro, them OpTic fans got quiet every round. Every time that Gentlemates was like making it mixy, bro, they were shutting up that crowd. So I'm disappointed in the crowd. Usually they're better than that. They gotta hype their boys up because we all know how much those boys rely on that crowd cheese. But yeah, man, Gentlemates silenced the crowd, and yeah, got the fucking dub. Neptune out of his mind, bro.
As Dashy says, wasn't meant to be. GG, well played to mates. And look, it's a great start to the season from a storyline perspective. I mean, look, Major 1 last year was not that dissimilar in some respects. It was FaZe versus Thieves at the time. There was a banger grand finals, Game 7, Round 11. FaZe then went on to win again the next tournament, and then, as we know, they fell off. The question will be for Gentlemates, can they keep up this type of level? Because, you know, I mentioned it to a couple of the guys last night. You definitely want to keep it up for Paris, right? Because it's difficult to maintain being the best team. It's the easier thing is to get there. The challenge is to stay on top. And obviously you have to give Gentlemates the nod as like the best team because they won the tournament, but also OpTic, you know, right there. They won more maps against Gentlemates this tournament than they did against them. You know, we talked about that earlier with some of the drama that has caused. But as a result, can Gentlemates keep it up? It's going to be tough. Obviously, online is very different to LAN, but we've seen it in the past with teams that started the year very well, then things started to go somewhat downhill. The team that's kind of the exception to this to an extent was New York Subliners when they won the World Championship in 2023. They won the first major that year. Then they fell off, and then they came back and won, of course, again, right at the end of the season. They dominated, and they won the World Championship 5-0, as we know, in the finals. So, like, I'm not saying it can't be done. Teams like FaZe have been very consistent for the entire season. But I'm hoping that this retains a great rivalry, basically. Dashy and Ghosty, another nice chapter last night, as we've just discussed. But also OpTic versus Gentlemates. It should be a story, maybe the story of the season. And I'm hoping that certainly when we get to Paris and the event that those guys are cooking up over there, which, according to what I understand, should be absolutely spectacular, there's a lot to say on having that Paris team still playing at prime level and maybe OpTic also playing some great stuff as well. So yes, very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.